YouTube, what is going on? It is your boy Sports Culture, and I am back with another video here today. And in this video, it's going to be another 7-round mock draft for the GreenbayPackers. We are officially 1 month away, or just a little bit over than a month away from the NFL draft. So expect one mock draft every week until the NFL draft, maybe two. Who knows? Possibly. Especially with the draft going up closer. Might do some like fun, unrealistic ones where I make some aggressive trade-ups. Things like that of that nature. So without further ado, man, let's get right into this video. If you're interested in more draft-related videos, mock drafts for the Packers, or just any team in general, please consider subscribing. But without further ado, let's get right into this. So here we are, pick 23, the first-round pick for the Packers. There's a lot of things I could do. One thing I really do like doing a lot in my mock drafts is trading down to like the 30th or even the beginning of the second round, somewhere around there. But I think I'm going to stay put for this video, maybe. Who knows? If we look at the people that are interested in trading, I mean, we could go to 26, 40, but it's not really that worth it in my opinion. So we're going to stay put right here, and we are going to select a defensive tackle, defensive lineman. And I really do like Walter Nolan a lot. I think he has like the second highest, or just overall the highest ceiling from all interior defensive linemen in this year's draft class because of his athleticism. But I'd be honest, I'm a huge Walter Nolan fan. I like what I see on film, but I think he's boom or bust at the next level, just because of his technique. So with this pick, we're going to go Derrick Harmon, the defensive lineman from Oregon. Really do like Derrick Harmon a lot, man. I feel like he's a pretty safe pick. The one thing I'd like him to clean up more than anything, at least from what I've seen on film, is his tackling. I feel like his tackling is sometimes really abysmal. But he's really good at getting to the backfield, being disruptive, beats guys off the line in an instance. He has an insane rip move, has some really good power, really good hand placement for defensive linemen. There's just a lot to like about him. Reminds me of Kenny Clark when he's coming out of college, just because Kenny Clark was so disruptive, so good at getting into the backfield, being disruptive. That's what I see from Derrick Harmon. And just like Packers fashion, Derrick Harmon, he gets to the backfield, becomes disruptive, and misses the tackle, just like Packers fashion. So Derrick Harmon is probably one of my favorite picks for the Packers in the first round. This team could definitely use just another disruptor from the interior or from the edge, which I'm going to try to get both in this mock draft. So with this pick, we are going with Derrick Harmon, the defensive lineman from Oregon, who I'm a huge fan of. I know everybody talks about him having only one full productive year, but it was an insane year. 5 sacks, 7 quarterback hits, 43 hurries, and 2 better passes. We're talking about somebody from the interior defensive line position that had a 17.6 pass rush win rate. So we're talking about somebody who's disruptive at another level. This is probably one of my favorite picks. Like I said, it just makes a lot of sense. This team needs another disruptor, another guy that could cause some pressure, get to the quarterback. And Derrick Harmon is probably one of the better ones in this year's draft class from the interior. Okay, so we are making a slight trade back with the Buffalo Bills. There's a lot of good players on the board right now, and we did miss on Brady and Swinson, but I am going to trade back just a couple picks, get an extra draft pick, and then select somebody. So unfortunately, I gambled, and the player I did want to fall to us literally 2 picks later was Trey Amos, but that's completely on me. I traded up with the Bills, or traded down with the Bills, and they selected Trey Amos. I should have knew better. That's on me. Trey Amos was going to be the selection here. I'm still a huge fan of Trey Amos. I think he's gotten fairly underrated throughout this like final portion or final part of the draft process. I feel like he's kind of gone underrated, a little bit under the radars. He's still a very stout cornerback, one of the better ones in this year's draft class in my opinion. Very good in zone, very good in man, just a very good press cornerback. But he's off the board. So with this pick, I want to go cornerback. I was thinking about Darian Porter right here, but I just can't pass on Jared Ivey. I really like Jared Ivey a lot from Ole Miss. Watched Princely Umani-Elliott a lot this year, and Jared Ivey was a guy that constantly popped out when I was watching Princely Umani-Elliott. Jared Ivey, 6'6", 6'5", he's a big dude. 6'6", 285, 23 years old, a little bit older you could say, but he's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got the hand placement, he's got the pass rush upside to be a legit 4-3 defensive end and probably a day one starter for the GreenbayPackers at the 4-3 defensive end. Had a 90.6 PFF grade this year, had a 16.8 pass rush win rate, had a 87.0 true pass rush grade, had a 82.7 run defense grade. To me, Prince Money Alien, definitely like the faster of the two in terms of edge rushers, especially like coming off the edge or just going on the outside. But Jared Ivey, to me, was like the more technical pass rusher, if that makes sense, because he used his hands way more. He engaged with his hands almost every time he pass rushed. He had a multitude of pass rush moves in his baggage, it looked like. Just really good at using his hands. He has some really good arm length as well. 8 sacks, 1 quarterback hit, 31 hurries this year, and 3 batted passes. Uses his hands very well to bat passes at the line of scrimmage as well. I don't think he has like an insane ceiling by any means, but I think he's going to be a very solid NFL player because of his size. And what I've seen on film, he's a guy that loves to use his hands when pass rushing or just engaging on blocks. And I mean, that's a great recipe already for a solid pass rusher at the next level, just a solid edge rusher at the next level. Does get drafted. Doesn't get drafted that many. Not that much no more by Packers fans, but Jared Ivey's a guy I really do like a lot. If we do miss out on the top 10 or like the top edge rushers in this year's draft class, and we need to fall back to like a Jared Ivey, I would not be mad one bit. So with this pick, we are going with Jared Ivey, the edge from Ole Miss. So we did make a small trade up with the Carolina Panthers. We gave the picks 87 and 159 and 237. In return, we got pick 74. Wanted to trade up so I could get a wide receiver I really do like in this draft class for the Green Bay Packers. So with this pick, I am going to go with a wide receiver, and that is going to be Trey Harris, the wide receiver from Ole Miss. I am a huge Trey Harris fan. I think his ceiling is really, really up there. I think he has a very high ceiling. Could do it all, man. Could high point the football very well. Could run routes. I think he's a very underrated route runner. I don't think the Ole Miss offensive scheme really gave him the opportunity to showcase his versatility as a route runner, but when you watch him on film, he has quick feet. He understands how to use leverage here and there. He's only going to get better in terms of like route nuisance. The more he runs routes, the more he expands his route tree. I'm talking about somebody that's 6'2", 6'3", 210. Can high point the football. Can give you yak ability. Really, really gives you some yak ability. Maybe not the fastest guy by any means in terms of like long speed and just a deep threat ability, but when Trey Harris has the ball in his hands, he's a very shifty and nifty fella and can make guys miss left and right. Is 23. It can be considered a little bit older for the wide receiver position, especially coming out, but really, really do like this guy a lot. In only 8 games this year, 8 games. In only 8 games this year, he had 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. And I kid you not, if he was the first read and maybe some more of these plays and Jackson Dart didn't miss him, he could have close to 1,300 to 1,400 yards. I truly mean that. I mean, the dude was getting open left and right. Had a grade versus man coverage of a 95.0. And to me, that's a huge, huge thing because I feel like this Green Bay wide receiver group struggles the most against man coverage or just getting off their single man. Had a 61.5 contested catch rate. Had a 5.12 yards per route run, which is super, super elite. And had a 89.4 receiving grade this year. Like I said, I really do think he could add close to 1,300 to 1,400 yards in only 8 games. If he was the first read or if Jackson Dart didn't miss him on some of these throws. I'm a huge Trey Harris fan. I have him as a top 5, top 6 wide receiver in this year's draft class, depending if you see Travis Hunter as a wide receiver in this draft class. So I'm a huge fan of Trey Harris. I got a huge ranking on Trey Harris in this year's draft class. I think he's a top 60, top 50 player. And to get him at pick 74 is a huge steal. So with this pick, we are going Trey Harris, the wide receiver from Ole Miss. Maybe not that deep threat and that speed we're looking for at the wide receiver position, but definitely an alpha wide receiver in Trey Harris and somebody who I have an immense amount of confidence in at the next level of being a solid, productive wide receiver for an NFL team. So here we are, pick 124, and with this pick, I am going to go with Noah Williams, the cornerback from Cal. 6'1", 200 pounds. We're talking about somebody who's very good in press, whether that's in man or zone coverage. And we're talking about somebody who, when you look at his profile, the one thing you would notice right off the bat is has a lot of career interceptions, 15. So we're talking about somebody who's a boundary cornerback, 6'1", 200 pounds, very physical, very willing tackler, but has the ability to return kicks, give you some punt return ability as well, but has the immense ability to take the ball away, has some really, really good ball skills. I think he's a phenomenal zone coverage cornerback. I know it says right here that he could be a starter in a man-heavy coverage scheme, and he definitely could. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a really good man coverage cornerback as well, but I loved what I saw when he was playing in zone. When he was able to keep his eyes on the quarterbacks, especially in the hard flats or just flats in general, when he was closer a little bit to the line of scrimmage, And I like what I saw when he was doing that. He was able to keep his eyes on the quarterback, use his big body, drive on the ball, because he doesn't have this elite speed. But I think in a short area distance, he has some good recovery speed and just speed in general to drive on the football. And I saw that. He was able to drive on the football, able to come down the field, make some tackles when guys were getting these easy little check downs and stuff. Make secure tackles, make sure a small play didn't turn into a big play. I just feel like his long speed's maybe not the greatest, and I don't think his long speed's ever going to be insane for the cornerback position. And I definitely see him, or I definitely seen him on times on film when he wasn't able to press guys and really bully them off the line of scrimmage per se. He did get beat, and it took him a while to recover. And he is a big grabby at times past 15 yards, which would definitely get called for a lot at the next level, and he doesn't really turn his head around. But when he's able to get his hands on guys, be physical, kind of slow them down at the line of scrimmage, make them his speed, phenomenal. Really good at trail technique as well, man coverage. Just a solid pick. I feel like he's a Green Bay Packers player because of his ball skills, his physicality, him being good in man and zone coverage, his height. We need a boundary cornerback. It just makes a lot of sense. This year allowed 31 receptions on 65 targets for 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, and had 7 interceptions. So just insanity, and had a passer rating of a 40.1. Does get drafted a lot by Packers fans. He just feels like a Packers pick. Definitely a guy I'd be stoked with. Definitely a guy I'd be happy with if we selected him in this year's draft class. So with this pick, we are going with Noah Williams, the cornerback from Cal, who's probably one of my favorite picks that I always make in mock drafts for the Green Bay Packers. So here we are, pick 132. And I'm going to go with Savion Jones, the edge from LSU. I really like his size as well. 6'6", 280, 21 years old. He's very, very young. Reminds me a lot like Jared Ivey. Same thing as Jared Ivey. This guy is very technical with his hands, has some really good hand placement. Maybe not the most explosive or quick off the line in terms of like quick first step for a pass rusher. Maybe a little bit stiff at times, and it doesn't have like that elite bend or like twist for an edge rusher, but just very technical with his hands. Has a really good motor, really relentless. I feel like he had a fair amount of moves in his arsenal as a pass rusher. As a run defender, he's very stout, could hold the edge, but is still very young at 21 years old. This year had 5 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, 32 hurries, and 2 batted passes. Same thing as a Chris Ivory. Very good at using his height to jump up and bat the ball at the line of scrimmage. Had a 76.8 pass rush grade, had a 69.1 run defense grade, had an 81.7 true pass rush grade, had a very impressive 15.1 pass rush win rate, had a 7.7 run stop rate. Still very young at 21 years old. He's a guy that definitely fits that 4-3 defensive end mold for the Green Bay Packers. I know we drafted Chris Ivory, but I really do feel like Savion Jones is Chris Ivey in the later rounds. I don't think you could go wrong with doubling down on a Chris Ivey and a Savion Jones, 2 big defensive ends that are around 6'6", 6'5", that fit this defensive end or this defensive scheme. I don't think you could go wrong. Maybe they're not that elite. Maybe both these guys don't have that elite speed or just athleticism the Green Bay Packers are probably looking for. But both these guys, in my opinion, could be very productive and just solid, serviceable edge rushers in the NFL with maybe the ability to maybe get to like a Danielle Hunter. Who knows? But I just really like them as serviceable guys to really beef up our edge room. We need more guys in there. Savion Jones, Chris Ivory, 2 guys that I think very similar of. Just makes a lot of sense. So with this pick, we are going Savion Jones, the edge from LSU. So here we are, pick 198, and I was going to go with Caden Prather or Dante Thornton Jr. if they fell to us right here, but they both got selected. So with this pick, I'm going to go with Ricky White, the wide receiver from UNLV. Really like his playmaking ability when he has the ball in his hands. Has great size, 6'1", 190 pounds. Solid blocker. Maybe not an explosive athlete. Doesn't have like an elite catch radius, especially for his size. Just really not a great hands catcher per se. But as a route runner, I think he's fairly solid as a guy that could just give you some yak ability. Go in there, make some guys miss. I really do like his ability at doing that. Was going to go with a Dante Thornton right here just because of the speed. 6'5". The dude's a big body guy that you could throw the ball to. And he has the speed to take the top off defenses. But unfortunately, he did get drafted. So I just want to get more depth at that wide receiver position room. This year in 2024, Ricky White had 78 receptions on 124 targets for 1,032 yards, 13.2 yards slash receptions, and 7 touchdowns. The prior year, which he had a very, very impressive year, he had 88 receptions on 135 targets, for 1,487 receiving yards, 16.9 yards slash receptions, and 8 touchdowns. So we're talking about somebody who has been productive these last 2 years. And right here, his pros are natural playmaker mentality to make defenders miss in open space. Manages his routes well to create separation. Competitive blocker against DBs. Good base of releases off press. And then, like I said, he's not an explosive athlete. Limited long speed to threaten vertically off press. Slender size makes it tough to to create a catch point through contact. Down to down speed is slower than you like. Smooth but seems to lack explosiveness as slash twitch. And then effort runs hot and cold. So there is some concerns about him. But we're in the 6th round. We need more depth at the wide receiver position room. Ricky White's probably the best receiver in terms of production and what he's done at college on the board right now. So it just makes a lot of sense. So with this pick, we are going with Ricky White, the wide receiver from UNLV. And then finally, to finish this mock draft, we are going to go with somebody who I think is very versatile. Just seems like a GreenbayPackers offensive lineman, and that is Joe Huber, the guard / offensive lineman from Wisconsin. The dude has played all over the line. Right guard, left guard, right tackle. Is 6'5", 310, fits that Packers height and weight ratio. Is a solid pass blocker. Just this pick is nothing special. It's just more depth on that offensive line. We've seen what happened that Philadelphia Eagles game in the playoffs when we ran. When Alken Jenkins got hurt and we had to run out some more guys out there. The pass protection and just play overall wasn't the same. I'm not saying Joe Huber is going to be the guy that comes in there and keeps the same play as like Alken Jenkins or anything like that, but he could definitely be something that could develop into something, or could just be a solid rotational player for this team if somebody does get hurt. This isn't going to be a special pick. This isn't nothing like that, but it's just more depth, and I just feel like this is a very Green Bay Packers type player and type pick right here to end the mock draft and just end the draft in general. Does get drafted 20% by Packers fans when they make mock drafts. So here's what PFF has graded my mock draft. With their first pick, we did go Derrick Harmon. And we got a C for that. That's usually graded higher than a B. So I'm very surprised we got a C. It is what it is. Next pick was Jared Ivey. Maybe not the highest ceiling or like athletic profile at the edge position in this year's draft class, but really like his hand placement, like what he brings as a pass rusher. Has great size, 6'6", 280-ish pounds. 23 years old, is a little bit older, but I just feel like he'd be a day one starter possibly, and somebody who could get better and could probably hit that Danielle Hunter potential. Who knows? I really do like his height and just his not his athletic ability, but his frame for the edge rush position. Trey Harris was our next pick. At pick 74, we did make a trade for him. Maybe gave up a little bit too much, but if you like a player, you go out there and trade for that player, and Trey Harris was the guy I really do like. And I really do like in this year's draft class. I have him as a top 5 to 6 wide receiver in this year's draft class. Noah Williams was our next pick. Just feels like a Packers player, 6'1", 200 pounds, very good in press, whether that's in man or zone. Very good ball skills, has 15 career interceptions. Just feel like he'd be a Packers player if he's there at pick 124 and the Packers do select him. Savion Jones was our next pick. Same thing as Jared Ivey. Big body edge. Very good with his hands. Has good hand placement. Has a plethora of moves in his pass rush arsenal. Maybe not the most explosive, but doesn't have like the highest ceiling, but Savion Jones is only 21 years old, and he could definitely develop into, who knows, Danielle Hunter. I don't know why I keep saying Danielle Hunter, but it's probably the only comparison I give a guy like Jared Ivey and Savion Jones because of their frame. They definitely don't have that same explosiveness as a Danielle Hunter, but just because of the frame, I'm going to compare them to him. Ricky White was our next selection. Just more depth in that wide receiver room. 6'1", 200 pounds, really good blocker for the wide receiver position. Just a playmaker. Give him the ball and he's going to make guys miss. And then to finish this mock draft, we did go Joe Huber, who I do draft a lot in my mock drafts, just because of his versatility as a offensive lineman, whether that's at guard, left guard, tackle. I mean, the dude could play all over the field. We are in the top 55% of Packers mock drafts, and we got an overall draft rate of a B. So a very solid mock draft. Nothing too crazy. Maybe in my next mock draft, I make some crazy trade-ups and things like that. But I really do feel like this is a very solid one. Really like Derrick Harmon. Really like Jared Ivey. Trey Harris. I feel like those three guys start day one instantly for the Green Bay Packers. And I feel like if we could get 3 to 4 guys in this year's draft class to be potential starters, day one starters, I feel like that's a huge home run for the Green Bay Packers. So Let me know what you guys think in the comments about this mock draft, what you guys would have done different, who you guys would have drafted. This has been your boy Sports Culture. I'm out.